the album Transient. That is Gael, also known as Gael Addison, and she's available on Facebook for those of you who appreciate that sound, that voice, and want to support her. The title of the song is Falling, and shout out to Miguel Miggs, I believe it is, who executive produced and engineered this album. This is one of those albums that I highly recommend for those of you who are audiophiles, that you got to listen to in headphones, because there's so much little goodness happening. Yeah, in the way that it was engineered and mastered, the same way that Janet Jackson's Velvet Rope album is that way. Like really, Jam and Lewis did so much that if you're used to listening to it highly compressed and on a stereo while you're distracted doing 50 million other things, you are never going to understand the mastery of what they put together musically and production wise for that album. And as we are shifting into our conversation about all things arts and culture, it is the Real Black Radio Hour here on Word Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM Philadelphia, and Mike D is in the house.
Hey, Stephanie Renee.
How are you?
I'm excellent. You know, Eagles won last night, so it was okay that it started like an hour late because of the rain and all that stuff. So I was up late, but we pulled through, and everybody's saying that these are the two teams to beat. So we're one up in the column, and I can be a little more relaxed, I guess. You know, as a Philadelphian.
You were stressed as a Philadelphian?
Well, as a Philly sports fan, yeah, because you know, Nick Foles was garbage in the preseason, and he was a little bit better last night. He just his arm is just not the same as Carson Wentz. So, you know, I wasn't expecting, after seeing the injury, that Wentz was going to be back like for game one. I knew that wasn't going to happen, but I'm glad Nick put the naysayers to doubt. Well, mainly the defense is what kept us in the game, if anybody watched it. But
gotcha. Well, yeah, I was gonna say, you know, I'm still on my not supporting the NFL period, and of course, you know, the Eagles aren't my twist, so that wouldn't be my thing anyway. But I would, you know, kind of skim past it throughout the course of the evening, and when I skimmed past it and saw that it was 3-3 at the top of the second quarter, I was like, oh, well,
it was like
you know,
game.
even if I wasn't, you know, not necessarily protesting, just not into it, just there for a number of different reasons. The least, I won't say the least of which, but the Kaepernick factor being one piece of that conversation, then I wasn't looking forward to it.
One person that kind of slid over on the side of the bench, they didn't take a full knee or do the power to the people sign, but you know, I got my Kaepernick on.
Yes, you do. You are representing today. I will say though, the commercial is outstanding. So I posted that. They Nike and Kaepernick kind of previewed it a day or two before the game, and so I posted it on Facebook just so people can see how serious they are about the messaging that they're doing for their 30th anniversary. And it really, to me, was a doubling down on all of those people who have stupidly started cutting swooshes off of their already purchased Nike gear, or even burning their homes down.
You know, Colin got Nike fans riled up a little bit, but maybe they looked at the commercial and saw something different than what your message to see. Because all he said was, you know, if you have a crazy idea, go do it. Just do it and be the best at it. So if your crazy ideas, I'm going to burn up on my Nike, then you did exactly what the commercial program needed to do.
Well, no, see, Nike social media handled that. Did you see the post that they did about if you're going to burn Nike gear? Okay. They gave 4 pointers about how you should do it. No. Do it outside. You have to do it. Don't do it while you're wearing it. It's really funny. But that was their response. They're like, if basically you people have decided that now you're going to destroy this stuff that you have bought from us as a sign of protest, don't kill yourself doing it. And don't kill anybody else doing it. You know, and I think that in this moment where tonight Serena Williams has an opportunity to make history with a 24th Grand Slam win. And I'm not going to say that that the other young lady, she's so cute. she's a huge Serena fan.
Right.
I'm not going to say she's going to throw the match just so Serena can have it. But if anybody would, she might, because she understands the historical significance of this moment. She's also beaten Serena before. So, you know, seeing two women of color playing in the finals match for the U.S. Open is a big deal. And you know, Serena has been fully unapologetic in her support of Kaepernick and in the way that Nike is standing behind them in
I hope
being
he got a nice
themselves.
good check with butter and salt on it, because Lord knows he might not get too many more. You know, he sat out for a long time.
Yes,
and
he did.
Gave away a lot of his money while he was playing. So I hope Nike took care of him and the whole leper colony of people that are in his commercial. I mean, they're selling shoes to people that don't need shoes because they ain't got no feet. They're just like, just go ahead, do it. You know, you got to be the best.
I mean, they do have a guy.
less.
They do have a guy in the commercial that doesn't have a hand, but
no,
I mean,
at the beginning, the kid that was wrestling.
Oh yeah. He did.
He was beating that boy up.
Yes, he was.
Made that boy took his shoes off him at the end.
But that's why I appreciated the commercial so much, because the whole idea of there are going to be plenty of people who tell you that you can't do something. And so if this is how you are motivated, if this is what wakes you up in the morning and gives you a reason to go on, you better do it. And you better do it at, you know, to the fullest of your potential.
Yeah,
it's a message that we need right now.
Well, I like Nike. They've been doing it for 30 years to just do it. Basically, it's aspirational. Like, okay, you know, like, and they say it's not aspirational. They'll say, oh, it must be the shoes, right? And they give Jordan all the money, and it's like, well, so you can live an aspect of that celebrity by just owning a pair of Nikes, basically. I mean, they're decent shoes, you know, way overpriced.
Well,
so I want
I haven't
Colin
owned a
to have
pair
a
of
check.
Nikes in years. I'm a Puma girl.
You know, if you're really anti-slavery, you don't buy any of that stuff, because make your own shoes or something. But you know, because it costs like a couple dollars to make $100 pair of shoes, so it's outrageous. But I you know, I'm not. I like Nike because I like Nike, but I'm not. I'm happy he got a check.
Right.
But I'm not buying into the messaging.
But I will say it's been hilarious. One of my Facebook friends posted a picture. So the Black community's response to the foolishness of the cutting out the swooshes and everything that largely white men have had as a response to this whole Kaepernick thing. He showed a sister by the baggage carousel at an airport. Now, she had a regular suitcase, but she was Nike. She had on Nike leggings and a Nike t-shirt and a Nike like a little duffel bag. just
to rub it in somehow.
Yes.
Wakanda forever.
Right. Representing
all right, give me some Nike
way.
stock. I'll be all right. They said the stock went down $3 after the commercial dropped.
It did, but I mean,
that's negligible. You know.
It is what it is. And so Elon Musk lost 10% value of his stock after he got
his Twitter.
Smoking pot on a podcast. And you know, why did I say pot? This is because I heard it.
Smoking weed.
I don't say pot.
But he doesn't sleep either. He's going to have electric cars for everybody before he's gone, right? So he's but you know, I mean, but there's other ways. I mean, in my mind, it's like weird. First, you know, it's like big ups to Nike for standing behind Colin Kaepernick and the message, and clearly everything about that whole taking the knee was diluted, and it's purely because of racism, right?
Yes.
So so the first thing is like, okay, well, I'm watching all this stuff. It's like, why do we have to just show everybody that has adversity? If you're crazy, like, you know, he's like the king of the weirdos now, and he's going to bring all the outsiders in.
Did you really take it that way?
That's how I read it with the sound off. Yeah. Definitely, because normally it's just one athlete saying, I do this, you can be like me, buy my shoe, right? But he's bringing everybody. Okay.
So, I mean, it would be disingenuous to have him as a former quarterback talking about just do it. He's not doing it. He's not playing football. So, I mean, you know, it had the messaging around that concept has to be different.
Okay, so he's a former athlete. Now he's a social activist. I think Nike should get into the business of giving more social activists jobs endorsing Nike.
Well, that's all fine and dandy, but they sell athletic gear.
Right. Well, the way my mind works, like, what if it was 30 years ago, 40, 50 years ago, if Malcolm X had a shoe?
It wasn't.
I want a Malcolm X shoe, Nike.
Well, you can go on the Nike website and design your own Malcolm X shoe. That's one of the things that they allow you to do. That you can create your own Nike. You can put whatever language and messaging on it.
He never got paid by the nation. Martin Luther King never got paid. Pay those estates. Get some civil rights shoes. I'll go wear them to the next march. You know, if we're handing out checks,
and then people would be talking about you commodifying the message of protest.
Well, as long as the check clears and Nike's paying for it, I'm already paying for it because I'm overpaying. I got Nike. I got feels on today, but I usually wear Nikes. This is a Nike jersey.
Like, this is going downhill fast in terms of this messaging.
I need a civil rights shoe, Nike. That's all I'm saying. I need if you're gonna go there, just don't pay one brother off. Look the whole movement.
And you wear them, it is going to be an issue.
Well, you see, I make my own black film hat.
but that's a whole different thing. You don't have a corporate logo on your hat. You have a message on your hat that you want to resonate with people who see you wear it.
Well, anyway, see if you agree with it. That's a long time coming that we gave some real activists some money to endorse a product. I hope that's the trend and not just, you know, giving Kaepernick some rent money for a year.
Well, yes.
You got to give half of it back to the government anyway.
But one of the things I wanted to make sure we get in before the first break, which you will probably be surprised about, is that I actually have something positive to say about Tyler Perry today.
Yes, big news.
Yes. Geoffrey Owens, for those people who have been following this conversation, after the attempt to publicly shame him for working at Trader Joe's and all of the dialogue that has swirled out of that, Tyler Perry said a couple of days ago, he's like, I know some folks.
Right.
You know, I would love it if Geoffrey Owens would send me his stuff or come down to Atlanta and let's see what we can make happen. And the early kind of feedback on that was that Geoffrey Owens wasn't going to do it or that he had turned it down. There was some...
Well, he went on Good Morning America. He said, like, I know there are going to be job offers, but I would rather audition and know that I'm the right person for the part. So,
but
as a result...
In the midst of all of this, Tyler Perry has offered him a 10-episode deal for the next season of The Haves and Have-Nots, for him to have a recurring role on his show.
We get to see more Geoffrey Owens.
Yes, Geoffrey Owens, the actor, will have some paid work.
That's the good news, but the bad news, 10 episodes of working on a Tyler Perry show is about the same amount of money as you get working at Trader Joe's for a year.
You know what? Stop.
I love Tyler Perry. I'm swaying. I agree with you. He also announced that he's part of a lawsuit to go after a sheriff who a black man and a Hispanic, I believe it is, in Florida, disappeared 15 years ago.
Yes.
The last time they were seen were in the back of this cop's car, patrol car, and now he's putting the money in to file a suit against this guy. So, you know, he's I think, you know, we're in the midst of a change. It's a good thing.
And that's why I say that, you know, I wanted to make sure that we let people know that this was happening, because we so often hold our celebrities and sports stars to all kinds of standards that if we were challenged to do, you know, whatever was within our means to the same level, plenty of us aren't doing it either. But we are very critical of pointing at somebody else, talking about how they should spend their money and how they should represent on some level. And so we have Tyler Perry, who saw the legitimate integrity of a man and acting ability, and offered him a recurring role. He saw an
opportunity where he had some power to change things and affect them. And
exactly, and he did
you know,
that.
For those who don't know, it's Elvin from the Cosby Show who weren't following all the stuff. And
And so, you know, and so within that context, when Beyonce announced her scholarship fund, so after Coachella, we were talking about Beyonce's foundation by herself.
Yeah.
And the HBCU scholarships that she awards, and that is still in motion. She picked the schools, and this is a full ride. So we're not talking about 1 year. We're talking about paying the tuition for the 4 years of a degree, which is incredibly important for folks that need that kind of financial support. And now, on the success of the On the Run 2 tour,
right,
Beyonce and Jay-Z collectively have pledged $1 million towards offering full ride scholarships as well. So for people who said, well, Beyonce could do the 4 scholarships she did, the full ride scholarship she did to those 4 schools.
Beyonce, just pay back that financial aid money at Howard and get some more black people in this. So 1 in 4 students at HBCUs are not of color.
Right.
So we need to reverse that. You know, like we can add a couple more show dates. You know, $1 million ain't nothing, Beyonce. Pay off them student loans from Howard kids.
Okay.
I'm just if we're being activists, let's be activists. Let's this little tiny.
Yeah, but all right.
I don't have $1 million. If I had $1 million, it'd be at Howard.
Well,
trust me.
Listen, I respect that. I'm just saying that, you know, that most HBCUs were started with white dollars anyway. Yeah. White philanthropic dollars. And so the idea that white kids or, you know, non-black kids have made their way to those campuses in order to get world-class education isn't a surprise.
Or save a few dollars.
That too.
You know, for us, by us. I need some civil rights shoes, people. With some power things, you know, and folks can burn them all day. You know, endorsement. I mean,
it's like you can burn them after you buy them. The whole point is to buy them, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, take it to the streets. No, give Colin his own civil rights shoe, and I'll buy a slew of them, and I'll hand them out at the next march. Until then, we're showing Aretha Franklin videos next Friday. That's all I can do.
Yeah, I got you. Well, we'll come back.
People feel good about themselves.
We'll talk about some events that are coming up, and we have a special guest calling in.
KEVIN WILMOTT, the author, the co-screenwriter of BLACKKKLANSMAN and Chirac, is going to be with us after this break.
Indeed. So we will give you plenty more good talk about arts and culture involving black folks when we continue with this week's edition of Real Black Radio in just a moment. Last week, when I had the pleasure of speaking to Dr. Matthew Knowles, I mentioned to him that this particular album had, thankfully, because of his label, I enjoyed greatly. One of my musical mentors, as I think of her in my head, Chaka Khan, and she follows me on my Soul Sanctuary Twitter. But Chaka Khan and the London Symphony Orchestra from an album called Classicon. That is her rendition of the jazz song Hazel's Hips, and she did a number of a number of the Bond themes on this album as well. Just good stuff. And and Matthew Knowles, if I don't know if you got a chance to even hear that conversation, but he is working on a documentary.
Love it.
Of some of the behind the scenes realities of working with some of the people that he worked with earlier in his career, and how that kind of led to him jumping in with both feet.
I'm assuming that's on the WURD website for everybody to listen to, not just I.
Yes, and he has a new book out called The Emancipation of Slaves Through Music. So it's this whole idea of how we reclaim our cultural space by understanding what our ancestors went through to share. How we overcame adversity and the kind of disservice that a younger generation does when they don't study their history and incorporate that into what they're creating now.
That folds right into our next conversation.
It does indeed.
For sure. From Kansas City on the line, our good friend, a filmmaker in his own right. Last time he was on Reelblack Radio was to talk about Destination Planet Negro, which is out there streaming. And since then, he's gone on to co-write Chirac and the Cannes Film Festival winning and super huge, mega super success movie BLACKKKLANSMAN.
Yes.
Co-produced by Jordan Peele and directed by Spike Lee, co-written by Spike Lee. With us on the line, KEVIN WILMOTT, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, Kevin. Welcome back to Word.
And happy birthday.
Hey, thank y'all.
I'm looking at your Wikipedia. You just had a birthday, bro.
Yeah, I did. I just turned a big 60, man.
Yeah, I'm 10 years behind. and you made it, and the man. How did you get this one past everybody? Like you've been making movies for over 2 decades. 1999, your first film, all kind of undercover for the most part. And now you're in France, accepting an award, 20 minutes standing ovation, basically saying the same thing you've been saying for 20 years. How'd that happen, man?
Well, I tell you, man, I think you just gotta kind of keep doing your thing, and there was always. I mean, I guess I'll put it like this: the truth never really changes, does it? So
facts.
You just got to keep on saying it and kind of keep on, doing your thing, telling your story, and things finally come around a little bit.
Well, first off, congratulations, and then, so what are your thoughts? As we speak, BLACKKKLANSMAN is still in theaters. It's at $40 million, so it made some money. Is there going to be a BLACKKKLANSMAN 2? How does this affect your life, sir?
Well, I think it's just been a great ride. I mean, I think the big thing is just that people are hearing the story, they're seeing the story, and they're kind of seeing where we're at in the country right now. Mm-hmm. And in many ways, BLACKKKLANSMAN is as much as it is a film, it's also kind of a movement too. And the end of the film, not giving anything away, I don't think, but the end of the film really, speaks to today. I mean, from the very beginning, Spike had talked about really wanting it not to be a period piece. We have a lot of fun with the 70s in the film, but we were always very conscious of trying to connect it to issues today, and so that was really always the intent, and it seems like people are kind of connecting with that. So it's been really great in that sense.
Yeah. Well, film is such a powerful medium. It's sort of like you can get the sugar in with the medicine sometimes, yes. And maybe and in this day and age, it's almost like things don't exist until we see them with our own eyes, and things move so fast we have to be reminded. So that montage at the end of the movie, I think it shook people in a way where they said, "Wow, is this what happened? Is this what we've come to?" When you connect the dots in that way.
Yeah, I mean, the joke that Spike and I kind of, had at Cannes was that, David Duke and I call him King Tang.
The Agent Orange and King Tang. Okay,
that's funny. I'm gonna borrow that, but I'll give you proper credit.
Oh, hey, use it all you want. That both of them wrote themselves into the film, really. That we really did not intend to use that ending, but unfortunately, this horrible event happened, and they were there, and they made themselves part of that story. I mean, David Duke was at Charlottesville,
right?
And King Tang said the whole equated people fighting neo-Nazis and Klansmen to the Klan. He equated them as on the same moral level. And so, that will go down in history as one of the most notorious racial remarks in our history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's going to be a signpost that it's almost like AD and BC kind of thing, It's going to be kind of after moment in American history and before this moment in American history. And the real question is going to be, how are we going to respond? How are we going to respond to this? How are these going to change now that we know where we're at with this? And so, I'm just very proud that the film, addresses this moment in our history, because I just think it's going to be, this is we're living in one of those big moments, and we just can't deny it.
Well, I wonder, how you have processed both the film's popularity across ethnic groups and some of the direct response that you have gotten from white people who have seen the film, or, a comment from David Duke wondering how, history will remember him related to how he is, discussed within the context of this film. I mean, is that surreal for you, or have you kind of processed, what that means?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was with, just happened to have Ron Stallworth. The real Ron Stallworth was we brought him to, I teach at the University of Kansas. He was here last night, and we showed the film. We showed the film and had a big discussion about it. And, Ron, he called Ron, David Duke called Ron, about the week, right? It was a few days before the movie opened, and was concerned about his image, which is hilarious. I mean, you're a Klansman, and you're a neo-Nazi. I mean, what do you think your image is?
Right.
So it's his. One of the links he has with King Tang is that they've got that ego, and they're both narcissists, and they think they love to think about themselves, and they love to talk about themselves, and they love to hear themselves talk. And so, that's that thing that I think all audiences across the board, I mean, people, I think, were really hungry for a story like this right now, and I think that's why it's been so successful. I think, that's why I think it was such a favor. It was such a favorite at Cannes, because I think the world is very concerned about us right now, and so they respond that way.
Yeah, and but it brings up a good technical question, because it's a dicey proposition. I mean, I was just not to drop names. We Shall Not Be Moved. We had an opera done here in Philadelphia that dealt with a sensitive topic of the MOVE issue, and Bill T. Jones was the director, and he said it's very important not to point fingers or place blame, but to leave it in the hands of the audience. Now, Spike is not necessarily a sort of middle of the road filmmaker, but I know there had to have been situations where, in terms of tone, where it's like, how do we navigate this and still have our victors victorious? I mean, so what was your approach? What did you bring to the project in your estimation?
Well, first off, our job is first to really entertain, and if the movie's not dramatic and funny and all the things that we want it to be, nothing happens. No one comes away with anything. So that's kind of your first responsibility. And Spike is really big on as much as he's a bold, even radical filmmaker in some ways, he doesn't really like to totally spell things out. I mean, not in terms of the overall message of the film. I mean, he's not really interested in, he's not a big guy on the word theme, things like that, but I think the thing for me that is one of the big kind of ideas of the film is the whole element of two-ness, that W.B. Du Bois two-ness. And, that's really kind of the thing that we tried to weave through the whole story. I mean, Ron Stallworth's character, he's trying to be a black man and a policeman. And that's affecting his relationship with Patrice. He's two people with the Klan, and then Flip, the Adam Driver character, he's a Jewish man, but has not really connected to his Jewish self, not really been raised to be Jewish. Suddenly he's hearing all these horrible anti-Semitic things that the Klan are saying, and he's being attacked by it. His conscience is being attacked, and so he's dealing with his two-ness in that sense too. And so, people pass in so many different ways in American life. I mean, passing is, I think we think of it as just this light-skinned thing that people did back in the days or whatever, but but it really is a concept that people are dealing with, I think, in various ways all the time. Gay people have to pass.
Yep.
I'm sure women pass in various ways, they have to, play along with things they really don't believe in because of expectations a male may have of them. So, there's just so many ways that people pass. And so I really think that's one of the things that I think people have voiced to me that they really, that really come away with the film. And I think as well, that people as a whole, that whole idea of the racial conversation. I mean, I think white people have come up to me after the film and they just hug you and I think they're kind of, I think there's a certain kind of redemption kind of thing. I remember, if I could share this quick story with you, there was a screening I was in that was just for the bookers of films.
Okay.
In Kansas City. And there was a gentleman sitting next to me I didn't know, and he had introduced himself early before the film started, and I was invited by some buddies of mine there. So films, we're watching the film, and there's that line in the film where David Duke's character goes, and I just wanted to make America, the greatness of America again. Something like that, he says. And my buddies down the aisle just busted out laughing. And the guy next to me said, ugh.
Right.
Oh, okay. He's not a fan. And so at the end of the film, the gut punch happens, and he turns to me and says, I voted for Donald Trump, but I'm not like that. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. I don't believe in that. That's not who I am. And he literally confesses to me right there in the movie theater.
Yeah, well, that's the magic trick, Kevin. I mean, truth be told, my only criticism with the film is that the KKK is sort of like Keystone Cop-ish, but I think that's a safe way to go, so that when you get to the gut punch, people don't feel like you're targeting a specific type of person in the audience. So, you're just telling the truth.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing how you portray the Klan, because when I've been an activist. The Klan has called my house before. I've seen Klan guys out there doing their thing in protest, and it's funny because when I talk to other people that have dealt with the Klan, I mean, they're kind of like the guys you see in the film. I mean, most of them are not very smart. I mean, they're not idiots, but there are some that are just low down, just dumb people, just really dumb. And what we tried to do in the film was try to have kind of each type, and each type kind of existed in Ron's world. I mean, the Felix character in the film, who's the real angry, dangerous guy. I mean, they wanted to bomb a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs, and he was always. I mean, the Felix guy was always telling Ron about how he wanted to kill somebody, and I mean, he never quite got there, fortunately. But I mean, and then there's always one guy who is the Walter character in the film, who's the smarter guy, who's the kind of the organizer guy, and he's the guy that. And it was so funny. Ron said last night, he said, even that guy, in the movie, he was a lot smarter than the real Walter actually was.
Okay, so it is closer to the truth than.
Yeah, I mean, but I know what you're saying. You kind of think, could they be that dumb? And unfortunately, it's like,
it's I mean, the key to the film is to provoke the investigation, to remind people of things, so that you're doing your job. I went back, I looked at Blood in the Face, and there's an interview there with Michael Moore where he's 1995, they're laying out their agenda, these neo-Nazis in Illinois, and they said, like, look, in 20 years, and we're gonna set up the economy so that we'll be on the verge of some sort of race riot, and that seems to be part of their plan. So I love the fact that you use the nostalgia to weave us in and get this conversation going again. So now, and Fear is about to come out in Bob Woodward's book. I mean, when this guy seems Teflon, when is the toilet going to finally flush and we can move on and look back at this like we look at reruns of Moesha?
Not till 2020. They're not impeaching him. That's me. I don't believe that we have the intestinal fortitude as Congress, as a voting public, to actually remove him from office before the natural course of term politics and elections would do so anyway. I don't think we will. But you may disagree, Kevin.
No, I totally agree, and I mean, you're both right. I mean, it's one of the most frustrating things that people are living with right now are just having to tolerate this daily madness that they have to hear from him every day, and it is so disheartening in so many ways. But it's a great reminder of, I've heard a statistic the other day that 35% of Americans, after Senator Joe McCarthy was exposed and censored by the Congress and the Senate, 35% of Americans still supported him. And so 35% of Americans will basically support anything. There's a 35% of America that is just pretty much insane. That's just, they'll go with, I hate to say it, they'll just go with anything. If somebody can sell it pretty well, they'll go with it. And so that makes that thing that you were saying, that the election right now is, the Republicans are not going to stop this guy. They're just not. And so we have to, the election is the only shot, the midterms is the only shot we have of getting rid of this guy.
Well, I love that you've taken your intelligence and talent and brought it to a tipping point, in the sense that I call 2018 sort of like the year, the convergence year for Black film, and I'm so happy that you are so highly represented within this movement, and it is a movement. And I just encourage more people to just know Kevin Wilmott, follow his collaborations with Spike Lee, as well as your independent work. I mean, where can people find you? What are you working on next?
Well, I just finished a documentary called William Allen White, What's the Matter with Kansas? And it's going to be on PBS stations, so kind of look for that one. Mm-hmm. And that's about, William Allen White was a kind of famous journalist from Kansas in the 1930s, the 20s and 30s, and in the 40s. And he literally ran the Klan out of Kansas. I mean, wow. People don't probably know this, but those terms, America First and Make America Great Again, those were Klan terms from the 1930s. Wow. And those were Klan slogans. America First was a big Klan slogan. And so when you look back at history and you see, and the Trump campaign, they knew that was a Klan slogan. I mean, they knew that. I mean, there's no way that you could not look that up online and see. I mean, the neo-Nazi was not the American Nazi movement that Charles Lindbergh was a part of. Mm-hmm. That was their slogan, America First. Right. And so, William Allen White, really, I mean, there were these, he was a Republican, a different Republican Party back then. But, there were moderate people there that looked at the kind of conditions of the country, and they stepped up and did the right thing, and that's what you're not seeing right now. You're not seeing, we've kind of, the country is so polarized that there's nobody in the middle to do the right thing anymore. That cross the aisle kind of thing that they always talk about. None of those guys are around
Yeah, well, we had a chance with Obama. He wanted to bring everybody together. So as far as taking action, I mean, we're up against the break. Kevin, thank you so much for taking the time to check in with us, and congratulations on everything. If you haven't seen it yet, please go support BLACKKKLANSMAN in theaters. It is, I feel it's the second in a trilogy of films that you're doing with Spike. I can't wait to see what you guys do next. After Chirac and BLACKKKLANSMAN, you're due for a third. And please, Kevin, do me a favor. When I put this petition up, please sign it for Nike civil rights shoes.
Yeah, this is part of our conversation from earlier in today's program.
I'm doing another petition. I want to see the full series of Being Bobby Brown on Blu-ray before the end of this year.
On Blu-ray.
I need it in my life. I'm tired of watching fuzzy YouTube videos. I need Being Bobby Brown on Blu-ray. That's the real white privilege. You can get 18 seasons of Simple Life with Paris Hilton. I can't get one season clear of Being Bobby Brown. I have to trust somebody that had was recording it off of antennas.
Lord of mercy.
We got to right the wrongs, yes. One person at a time.
Well, Kevin, we're glad that you have been available to us here on Word Radio, and we hope that as you continue to release more material, that we can continue to have you back to analyze the effect that your work has on the viewing public.
Hey, beautiful. I can't thank you guys enough. Always great. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we take our final commercial break of today's program and come back and try and wrap all this up as Mike and I talk about some of the things we'll be involved with over the next week.
Action speaks louder than words. You got to come out and support some of these things we're going to be talking about next.
Indeed. So hang tight. We'll be back with the conclusion in just a moment. From the soundtrack of Love Jones, the kind of bar setting black film soundtrack that also really showed the music industry about how they could make money selling music associated with these beautiful images of black folks that were showing on the big screen. That is Kenny Lattimore with a song, of course, that was produced here in Philadelphia. That's how these things work. We making hits for the past 20 years solidly.
Oh, Kenny Lattimore?
In the second wave of the sound of Philadelphia that included the Roots and Jill Scott and so many other people who came here to get their production done. But that song is called Can't Get Enough.
Yeah, Kenny's great. There's a video on Reelblack TV YouTube channel of him performing with Jeff Bradshaw.
Yes.
A great song on that Home album.
Yes.
We listen to the original recording and then we capture it live.
He's a cool dude. I got a chance to do a backstage interview with him at the CD release party at TLA, and just having a conversation about he's from DC, so we got the DC bond, but talking about Philadelphia and all the great musicians that come from here and the production, and how instrumental Philadelphia was in launching his career.
Well,
and so
I know we won't talk about your event tomorrow, but while we're talking about music, big ups to Kindred, the Family Soul. They sold out. I don't know where the location is, but they sold out their anniversary show that's going to be here.
Yeah, I can't. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't share that information. But
so
just
20th anniversary.
Always, it's kind of hard to believe. I mean, I met them right before they got married when I was doing some background singing for the Jazzy Fat Nasties on some of their showcases, and it's been a great ride. And Asia's yet another one that cementing that DC Philly connection.
Yeah, but so if you didn't get tickets for that, I think it's the same. It might be the same night, the same week, because their anniversary is literally the day before my birthday, which is September 20th.
Gotcha.
I noticed that Lady Alma, who was on the show to celebrate the Eagles win, and she went viral with an Instagram video. We have a new clip of her performing "Let It Fall" on the Reelblack channel. She's doing a free show at the Kimmel on Wednesday the 19th.
Yeah, as the featured artist with their Sitting In jam session. And shout out to Tony Basil. A video that they have of Tony Basil, for those of you who are not 80s music fans, was famous for a song called Hey Mickey that was very cheerleader inspired. And she's in her 70s now, but she is still young and vibrant and was dancing her heart out to there's just a quick clip of her dancing to a Lady Alma song, and just shows how universal this is, the power of dance music, and folks who really appreciate Lady Alma and the folks that are giving us that 120 beats per minute, and it is the rhythm of the world.
Lady Alma's music is timeless. It just please follow her. Daryl DeBrus, thank you for the information. The Clef Club is where Kindred's show is, so if you want to stand outside, you might be able to get in.
And speaking of which, we just want to, for those people who weren't tuned into the show yesterday, Don Gardner, the longtime, I don't know whether he's CEO, what his official title was with the Clef Club, but he passed earlier this week. And so as we get further information about the homegoing services for him, we'll make sure that we share that. Mike and I are going to be together tomorrow at the community space right next to Uncle Bobby's. We're going to be, I'll be in conversation with Kevin Powell, and Mike will be handling the video duties for his 13th book, the latest book that he is releasing. It's called My Mother, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and the Last Stand of the Angry White Man. It's a collection of 13 blogs that he has written about contemporary issues, everything from Cam Newton as Superman and the response that people had to him losing in the Super Bowl, to Tupac Shakur and kind of words that were never said. And Kevin's next book is going to be about Tupac's kind of life and legacy.
There's a nice essay. There's several essays in the book where it's letters to. So he has a letter to like a young black man that you met, which is very powerful. Almost brought me to tears, just in terms of the way he consolidates. Just being we're roughly the same age, experiencing being a black male in America for the last 40 some years,
growing up fatherless and in poverty, and saying that even if you don't come from that background, that you experience the effects of that because you live in this society, and there are things that we assume and things that we live through that you got to process.
It's a great, and in this Me Too era, it's a great way to, where he's really spent the last 20 years of his life trying to break the cycle of the trauma that he survived. So I encourage people to come to this
5:30 on tomorrow, Saturday, at Uncle Bobby's. They'll direct you next door. Bring money to buy a book, get it signed, and we'll have a Q&A.
And rest in peace to Burt Reynolds. I have a little soft spot in my heart. I know we got to break real quick. So Burt Reynolds, a lot of people, he succeeded where Fred Williamson didn't, because he was making the same kind of movies about Southern white people back in the 70s that Fred Williamson was doing about black folks from the North. But somehow he managed to date Sally Field and Lonnie Anderson and have a career where he hired all his friends, and Fred, he's still doing the po' boy. But Cop and Half is my Burt Reynolds pick, and he also did a movie called Waterproof, which is worth seeing if you're into black film.
I was gonna say, I don't know a lot about Burt Reynolds' filmography.
He's a good old boy.
I was like, Deliverance. It was my introduction.
And he rode that Deliverance wave.
Yes, he did.
Everybody.
But he had a very infectious smile. He kind of threw himself into comedy. He gave us a distraction from some of the very real trials of the day, and people deeply appreciate him for that.
Indeed. And Smokey and Bandit, Cannonball Run. Great entertainment. All that Rest in peace.
Rest in peace at age 82. And that will do it for today's edition of the show, everybody. We hope to see you tomorrow at Uncle Bobby's, and continue to support these opportunities for us to get together, because you just never know when. And, we understand that far too often, and we appreciate what Mike does to capture these moments with his camera. I talk, so that's how I contribute to the process. You can learn
a lot and feel more whole if you extend your conversation beyond 160 symbols or letters or whatever. Come meet Kevin. It's going to be amazing.
It is.
And there's a whole lineup of Uncle Bobby's conversations that are coming up that are amazing. So support Black.
Indeed. And with that, we get out of the way. Brother Shamari is next on your dial. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM. It's been our pleasure, and Lord willing, we do it again the same time next week. Take care, everybody. Brand new filmmaker born every day. Put a camera in his hand and let him lead the way.